the zone, breaking it down from her comfy throne. Smart as hell with a side of flair, politics sass and a killer stare. Hazy's lurking tail in the frame, chat's already playing their games. That target day, sharp and bold, hot takes drop while the chaos unfolds. Truth with bite within the way, still showing up every streaming day. Brains and vibes, she leads the pack. Now buckle in, no looking back. That dark night, let's
Good morning, evening, whatever time it is for you guys. For us, it's morning, so time zone supremacy. Cat, Central African time is the best time. It's not my time, but still, it's Joe's. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's Joe, guys. He's here in the flesh.
Hello.
Hi. Apparently, we're going to be Emilio'd.
Let's go.
Okay.
I like that.
It's 4
Maybe I'll use that on
well,
my show.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Emilio.
You're up
You better
early.
stay awake, Sherry. You stay awake, right? Okay. I think you recognize this person over here, 140.
Yep.
Hey.
144.
Olo. I like. Sorry, 140. Just quickly. Is it Olo from Megamind? Because that's what I hear. Olo. Right? Okay. 10 a.m. Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome Joe. So excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. What do I call? Did I just call you Darn Kitty? I don't know what.
You can call me Kitty. You can call me Chintzia if you want, Chintz. But yeah, Kitty is mostly what people call me. I only have an EH in my name because Kitty with a Y was taken. So.
Okay. Kitty.
So yeah. Yeah, but it used to be in the early 2000s. That's how we used to type as well. It was like lol speak.
Oh yeah.
That was part of how you speak. So yeah, there's that.
Okay.
Hi, got a peeper, Vika. We got a lot of people coming through. Thank you guys for being awake and alive and in my chat, which is where you belong. I want you guys to hear. You guys know. Okay, you guys chilled with me while I diagrammed Joe's very interesting documentary. Okay, you coped with me going through it in high detail, and now I have him here. I'm trying to contain myself, but and I have promised him I won't diagram the whole interview. But yeah, let's start with something chill. You guys know about what he gave us because you were there. But I would like to know about Joe himself, because I did the fun thing with you is I reversed because you're like, I was born in Texas and now I'm in Cape Town. I completely said, oh, you were born in South Africa and moved to Texas. Yeah. You wrote it right there. So please, could you tell us your origin story in terms of that?
Origin story. I love that. Yeah. So. I was born in the States, Texas. I lived there for about the first 8-9 years of my life, and then my parents are are a mix of a lot of things, but mainly they're Egyptian American, so I moved. My dad got a job opportunity in Egypt, which he couldn't pass up, and then we ended up moving to Egypt. I lived there for a few years, but unfortunately, Egypt wasn't great for me because. 9/11, I moved just before 9/11. So when 9/11 happened, Arabs and Americans didn't really get along, bullied quite badly. I don't want to go into too much detail.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah. But anyway, so I grew up in Egypt. I had very little friends, but eventually, unfortunately, my parents got a divorce. And my mom was toying with the idea of either sending me to the States, or she gave me the option of moving to South Africa with her because she wanted to be with family. And I decided basically to move to South Africa with her. I had visited South Africa before, so I knew what the place was like, Cape Town specifically. I liked it very much. I liked the people. I thought it was far better than Egypt, and I don't mean to knock
No.
Egypt. I'll get into that in a moment. But
Better fit.
yeah, I just at the time I just wanted to get out. At the time I just wanted to be outside of Egypt. Anywhere else for me would have been better. And when I got to South Africa, it actually gave me time to heal my wounds from Egypt. And I went back to Egypt to visit my dad a few years later, and everything was different, which was nice. People were, I think, because Barack was president, Egyptians then liked America for some reason. And I was treated differently. I was, yeah, it was nicer, and I'd grown up, and I, moved on from the pain. And so now I very much encourage people to go to Egypt. It's a beautiful place in terms of history, pyramids and all that stuff. Been there many times. Love going there. I want to take my family there. So definitely going to go back. So right now I have no qualms with Egypt. And moved to South Africa in 2007, towards the end of 2007. Did my matric here, and been here ever since. Met my lovely wife. We have a family here. And in case people are wondering, yes, I do have dual citizenship. I'm American and South African. I got the South African citizenship through descent from my mother, because she's South African. So yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell the story, the origin story.
There we go. I dig it. It's quite a extensive story. There's just me. I was in one town in Johannesburg, and that's where I was the whole time. So this is very exotic to me. And the dual citizenship definitely was going to be my next question. Well, I guess that'll also make me want to know about what you're feeling about America itself. How involved, because you speak a lot obviously about our South African politics on your channel. Guys, go and subscribe. I don't know if you haven't subscribed already, but it's here. Let's put the link in there. But yeah, you speak about South African politics and everything. Are you interested in US politics too? I mean, everybody should be. They're the big boys.
A little bit, obviously, because I'm from there. It's funny, like, people hear the accent and then they assume that I'm an American in America commenting on South Africa, and then they're like, "You just mind your own business with your own country, okay?" And it's like, I live in South Africa, my guy. But anyway, yes, I do pay a little bit of attention to US politics, of course. I think it's interesting. It's very versatile, but I think that's true with no matter what government, no matter what country you're in, every government's a bit wild. So yeah, the interesting thing, like, I would probably like to delve more into US politics, but what I've noticed is a lot of my subscriber base are very much South African. So when I do US stuff, it doesn't get a lot of views, surprisingly, even if it's like crazy things that Trump did or Elon did or whatever, whether it's good or bad. When I commentate on it, people don't seem that interested for some reason. So I kind of I did like one or two, unless it's, of course, Cyril in the Oval Office, then everybody's watching that. But if it's like specific to, because I did once a video on the tariffs, and Trump doing all the tariffs and stuff, and nobody was interested. We got like 1,000 views. And
hey,
that was
I wouldn't mind 1,000 views.
You'll get there. You'll get there. Yeah, relative to my normal. Yeah,
it's like,
to the normal
okay,
views.
well, we're not going to spend time on that. Thank you.
So I was like, okay, people want to hear me talk about South Africa. They don't want to hear me talk about US. And that's fine. I mean, every now and again, I might do it for me, like just like do a video about the US, if there's something interesting. But other than that, most of the time it'll be about South Africa and just the craziness that's happening over here. I do reaction videos as well.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Action videos.
The reaction videos, yeah.
Reaction videos. Sorry. Reaction videos have their space on the internet. Okay, it's just, you have to make sure that people know it's a slop. On Fridays we do slop here. It was so bad that the week that I decided to do slop like as a schedule was just after I spoke to you. I'm like, oh, he's gonna really regret reaching out to me
No.
now, or like letting me or seeing my thing, because now I'm going into this reaction slop content. But anyway, I'm very serious and properly. I'm a journalist. I even took notes and things. So so yeah.
I did pop into that specific stream probably at the worst time because we were watching some weird video. And
I know, it was. I was like, oh, Joe, why do you gotta be here? Like, please, just don't. Oh, I was rather embarrassed. But thank you for popping in. But we are a comedian, okay? You know these things as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
No,
So
it made me laugh,
that.
but at the same time, like it was a very interesting video where I was like, why do people? Because like I was with you in that commentating, like why is this so popular? Why is this so funny? Like,
oh, was it the stupid Sasquatch thing? Was that one, wasn't it? Because that's one.
Some guy screaming. That's all I know.
Oh, the guy screaming. Oh, yes, that was another. Oh God, there's too. You know,
there were so many.
Yeah, there were all. There's a few that are just. Oh, anyway, I'm hoping that my brain can survive by doing it once a week, because I did a week of like 2 or 3, and I couldn't. Anyway. One last question about yourself that is very important and everybody needs to know: cat person or dog person?
You're gonna probably disagree with me, but I am a dog person per se, but I do own 2 cats.
Okay.
I want a dog so badly, but we're worried that if we get a dog, that the other 2 cats are not going to be very happy with that. So we're patiently waiting for the opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am a dog person still, but that doesn't mean that I don't like cats. I do love cats. There was a time when I didn't like cats, but then I had my own cat eventually.
That's the difference.
And then I fell in love with cats, because then I started to understand them, like, because like when you're a dog person and you're used to like dog things, you assume that cats are the same way. Like if they wag their tail, that means they're happy. It's not. And then I had to learn that. Yeah.
Yes.
Once I learned how a cat is and how they communicate and all that stuff, then I was like, okay, I understand the creature better, and I love the creature. It's fine.
But yeah, so you're the opposite of me. I also love dogs. I love animals really. But yeah, I look at my name. I love cats. That's the thing. Yeah. So yeah, dogs. It's they're different kinds of things. Yeah. The gifts, yes. Always a cat gift.
Yeah. So I love cats, love cat videos. I've definitely learned to love the animal very much. And but I think it's because I haven't had a dog in because like I used to live also in Texas. We used to live on a ranch. So we had a lot of dogs, a lot of cats, a lot of animals, and that's me. I'm like a lack of a better word, boer, like I grew up on a farm. And I'm not a city guy. I don't like the city. I hate the city. So for me, like we had dogs, we had cats, I had goats at one point, and lots of cows. My dad was like a rancher. And yeah, so I think that's what it is. Like I just miss having a dog, and I haven't had a dog in it's been a while, 6, 7 years, 8 years. I don't know.
When you do get a dog, you better be posting it all over social, because we want to see. You can maybe Yeah.
I want to get a beagle, and I want to call it Snoopy. That's my dream.
Okay.
That's my dream.
A howling beagle. I was gonna say like get a Malinois, get one from Roman Cabernet. So you'll have this majestic beast, but you're like, no, just get a Snoopy.
Either a beagle,
either way,
or a what are they called, man? They're super cute. Border collie, I think. No, not a border collie.
Is it like dog
it's my wife's? No, it's like my wife's favorite type of dog, and it's small.
I hope she doesn't see this. You've forgotten it.
Corgi, that's the one.
A corgi. Okay, yes.
Yes.
They've taken over the internet. The corgis.
Yes.
They're all over
I
the
wouldn't
place.
mind a
Yeah.
corgi. I wouldn't mind a
Cute
corgi. They're
little
super
butt.
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so this now we've had the happiness. Now let's get into the gritty stuff, which is obviously our lovely land grab. The truth about land grabs in South Africa, everybody, as told by Joe Emilio, it has come through the surrounded. Sorry, I've got the word S in my head. Stolen Ground documentary. And yes, as everybody else has said, what drove you? The thing is, these people haven't watched those other interviews because they're, I don't know, one of 44 has, but everybody else.
Yeah.
Point is, what I'm asking you is, so what made you go into this this topic of land grabs in South Africa?
Well, one, my curiosity, that's for sure. But two, I think I did a video on land grabs. It was just after Cyril was addressing not the nation, but he was in a news interview or something, and he said there's no land grabs happening in South Africa, and everybody was like, no, but there is. And then this one guy on Twitter, LP, did a whole thread of different little towns and cities and areas in South Africa, where he showed like, oh, in 2000 or between 2000 2010, look at this land, it's green, or it's a neighborhood or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would show it in 2020 or 2023 or whatever, and how shacks are just all over the place. And he did this with many different areas. One of them was the Tygererg Raceway. I then did a video on that thread, and then during the video I said, if my viewers want to comment and let me know if they want me to dig deeper into this issue of land grab, because while I was making it as well, like I thought, how is this even possible? Like, why is this even happening in a so-called constitutional democracy, South Africa, in 2025, 2024, whatever? Like, how is this happening? And I was just driven by curiosity, and then I got a call from a friend of mine, Clay Wilson, who encouraged me very much to like do something, to like listen, dude. Like, he was like, he didn't necessarily bring up the idea of a documentary, but he said we have to investigate, we have to look into this. Like, here are some areas. He gave me a few areas, like there was Grabau, Kailicha, Hermanus, the Raceway, and some other areas in Fulani and other areas that he thought were interesting. And then we zeroed in on the Raceway because, we didn't have the budget to travel and do all that stuff. But the Raceway is far from me. It's about 10, 15 minutes away. So I said, let's start small. And we still hadn't decided to do a documentary yet. We only decided to do a documentary when we found Chris, and Clay again was able to track him down. And when I started basically asking Chris a few questions, and also realizing, I think it was Mark Oppenheimer and Martin van Staden who are also in the documentary. When I can't remember how I got onto the conversation with them about what I was doing. Now I remember. I wanted some lawyers, some constitutional lawyers, and some advocates to be involved in the documentary to explain the Constitution defined property rights, basically, in the Constitution. That was the original idea. But then they told me, no, you need to focus on the PI Act. They're the ones that told me about it. And I would have found out about it anyway with JP, interviewing him, because he mentions it quite a lot. But that's how I got onto the PI Act. And then when I started to see the PI Act and realize that this is a much bigger story that I can't just condense into 15 minutes or 10-minute video, I was like, maybe we should do a documentary. Maybe we should like try and make this a thing. And that's when Clay was like, yeah, we should. That's when I decided, okay, let's plan it. Let's who are we going to speak to? Who can we speak to? Who wants to speak to us? We reached out to many people to speak to who either were too shy to be on camera, didn't want to be on camera, too scared to be on camera. So, I mean, Daisy refused to be on camera or anything unless she was anonymous.
Yeah.
And that was a common trend, obviously, because we're talking about something that's very divisive, can be very divisive in South
Divisive.
Africa.
The
Yeah.
people in South Africa, just considering some of the feedback that you get online, the people are crazy. So
Now, by the
I
way,
think
before you bring up the woman that you want to bring up, I don't want to say her
yes.
name. I don't want to give her more airtime. Let's
Okay,
not do
well,
that. But
I'll read the
I'm
tweet,
happy
but I
to.
won't show it.
Yeah,
Okay.
because those kind of people, like, yeah, the arguments are just, yeah, baffling.
Yeah. Okay. So we won't. But the point is, we speaking of backlash, right? So there were people that literally they don't want to appear in it with their faces, but hey, really, Chris was quite compelling. For
Mm.
me, like we made like one of the best comments was like, "Oh, that's a real beer book and whatever." But it's like, no. When he got to actually when he was asked about the emotional impact or whatever, I honestly was sold that was not. He's not just trying to gain sympathy. He actually could
Mm.
not speak about it, and that's a boer, an Afrikaner,
Mm.
not
Mm.
being choked up. That
Yeah.
that was quite compelling to me.
Yeah, and that moment, Helene Bushoff, who's a journalist who helped me do that interview, because I don't know a lot of Afrikaans, and he wanted to do it in Afrikaans mostly. So I roped her in to help me with the Afrikaans section, and to help me with interviewing him. And she asked that very emotional question, which was real. I mean, he was talking about everything. He had just finished talking about everything that had happened on the raceway. And then she said, like, okay, well, take me back. How did you feel? What was it like? And then he couldn't keep it. He couldn't keep his composure and stuff. And the whole room was dead silent. We all felt for him at that moment, and I still do. And every time I watch that segment, it for me, it gets harder, because I really respect Chris. I didn't know his story was going to be so heartbreaking. I mean, I knew it was going to be heartbreaking, but the
You didn't
way,
know
I mean,
how
there's
much.
still, yeah, I didn't know how much, and also this, our conversation was about 45 minutes, close to an hour. So there's a lot of footage that didn't make the cut, which I am going to release soon, hopefully maybe next week. Unseen footage from the documentary,
Oh, that's cool.
where he talked about how until today, he still helps that community. Even though what happened to him, even though all that craziness happened, he still donates food to them. He helps them as much as he can, and that's like what really pees me off sometimes with what people say about, oh well, he was leasing the land, so he wasn't really the owner or whatever. And it's like, that doesn't make it any better. And even if he was leasing it as a contract, you have a contract. It's like when you rent a house or a room or an apartment, you're under contract. That's a temporary ownership of that area that belongs to you and what's in it. So it doesn't matter if he was leasing it to the city or not. Actually, it's just still his property.
It
And
certainly is not the property of the people that went and barged in on it.
100%. And what makes it even more heartbreaking with some of the footage that I will release is that, like I said, he still helps that community, and he explains what he did for the community as well. He gave them jobs. He hired some of them to be car guards or security or help in the kitchen. So he was helping that community in a country that is nearly 50% unemployment rate, right?
Yeah.
He was offering jobs, and now that same area, that same person has been thrown out of there, which means less jobs. And despite all that, then this is why I think he's got, like, you speak about the boer and how they can't get emotional, but he's a typical big guy, but big heart as well, because until today he still helps that community
It
every
hasn't
week.
made him bitter
No, because
against the community. Yeah.
No, and I don't think he blames the community. I think he blames more the city. I think he feels betrayed by the city, and it's evident as well in his daughter's comment as well. She commented on one of the videos I made, in a whole story about how they feel betrayed and hurt, and And I can't blame them. I don't fault them for that. I'd probably feel exactly the same way, because you put your trust in a system that you think is going to protect you, and it's built to not protect you. Complete
And it's
opposite,
just,
in fact.
we can't. Sorry. Shame. I don't know. Sorry, we tried, but our hands are tied. It's kind of like this, like you said in your documentary, where everyone kind of just goes, we tried, or and they just throw it, or they blame other people. Just everyone blames everybody else.
I think with the raceway specifically, there's a little bit more nuance to that, and a little bit more complicated, because I think the city should have done something afterwards. Once COVID was over, maybe relook and said, maybe contacted Chris and said, listen, let's talk about a new land. We'll give you 50% off the rate, or maybe we won't charge you for the first 5 years or whatever. Let's work something out to make right what happened, right? But they didn't, which is shocking. But the reason why I say it's a little bit more complicated is because you got to remember, one, it was during COVID. So there was laws during COVID that courts weren't allowed to process evictions. So the city needed to get an interdict in order to not overturn that, but make an exception, so that they could stop the land invaders from coming in. But then the South African Human Rights Commission comes in, gets involved, and stops the city from helping a citizen who has rights. Right? He's got rights. He's the one that needs protecting, but they protect the illegal invaders. And obviously, it took 12 months for that ruling to be overturned. And of course, by that point, it was a free for all, and it was lost. So I think with the raceway, it's definitely a very unique story in terms of, like, the laws happening, because like something else that I'll also release extra is the stats that JP spoke about, where he said it was a crazy amount of land invasions that happened from 2020 to now, 2024, 2025. But he said that the majority, 90% of it, happened during COVID, which is crazy. So, now, after COVID and the current situation in Western Cape, it seems to be under control. There's still land grabs, don't get me wrong. They're still happening almost every day. Hermanus still suffers from them, Gerbau, and like I said, Khayelitsha and all these other areas. They constantly try and encroach all the time. But it's not, JP speaks to how during COVID there was like a full-on coordinated assault on land. Like there was 12 hotspots happening at the same time, thousands of people just taking land, and that doesn't happen anymore. The coordination, the large-scale coordination, but there's still shack farmers. There's still people in the system that will manipulate the PI Act, politicians and councillors that are corrupt, that will incite land invasions. This still happens, but just not on the scale that it was happening during COVID. So it's a little bit contained, but unfortunately it's still happening.
So with this happening, let's actually go to, okay, look, I lied to you guys. There is a diagram I want to show you. It's not a diagram, it's just steps, okay? So just look. This is how I've understood it. Please correct me, and I want us to work on this together, okay? So, because this is what you're telling me.
Feel like I'm in class again.
Yeah. So basically, what I tried during the stream, and it just never worked out. But this is just afterwards, after also listening to you talk about it in different interviews and things like that. Is this how it goes? Okay, for how to land grab and how it was happening. Let's say during COVID. This seems to be from the documentary. This was quite an insidious thing, that there is land earmarked for development, and that information gets out somehow. That's what I got from it. Then obviously there's a lot of steps in between and a lot of things that go. This is very simplified, but then I suppose, hey, magically somehow, especially when it came to COVID, you get thousands of people coordinated. I don't know how you do that. And I say thousands because 1,000, 2,000, they're thinking that it's between 1,000 and 2,000 people that that it did Tygererg, right? So you somehow get that many people. So invade and destroy, I included that because of the fires. And I mean, it's not just, oh, we came in there and we sat down and we squatted and we took. No, it's that they destroyed that place. Okay. Then they build homes, and that's what I'm trying to say. But that's obviously where the shack farmers and things like that come in. And then I suppose this keeps them in there. Is that's it's one line, but I think it's a lot more complicated than that. Comments on the way it looks. Don't worry, I'll take it off now.
No. It's great. Keep it up for just a moment.
Okay.
I think you should where you put identify land and earmarked for development. So it's not only that; it's also land that people will assume is vacant. I mean, recently. Whether it can be private land as well, vacant private land, because just after the Expropriation Act was signed in South Africa, in January, February, there was two farms, one in East London and one in Limpopo, that were invaded basically. And I'll send you. You should do a reaction video on it, because I'll send you the link. And you'll see there the individuals say like, oh, but it's in the Constitution, we can take land, and the Expropriation Act was signed, and we're going to take land and stuff like that. So this is why at the end of the documentary I made that connection with the Expropriation Act, because it is a dangerous thing if you combine the PI Act and the Expropriation Act together. Because now, once what can happen with the Expropriation Act is these individuals take over the farmland or whatever. The PI Act kicks in, because now that farmer can't kick them out. He has to go through the court system, blah blah blah. And eventually, if he loses complete control, like let's say the government looks at that plot of land and says, "Hold on a second. You bought this land, but you seem to have lost control over it because there's hundreds of shacks here." The owner would then have to provide proof that he's still fighting to get the land back. So in other words, in court and still fighting. If he can't do that, if let's say he ran out of funds or he just gave up, then the government can literally look at it and be like, okay, you abandoned the land, we're going to take it.
So and you can't get it back. There you go. Land Expropriation Act. That was a great tie-in as well, and something that I hope you can go into further in your number 2. What's it? Stolen Ground 2. But we'll talk about that just now.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to go. There's so much I want to ask you about the actual documentary itself. One of the things. So let's go into the backlash, okay? Because anytime you talk about anything political, anything in South Africa, really, but you're used to that because you're in the space, you're a commentator, that's how it goes. But you also knew this was a different league because you're really putting it out there as a production. I put this together, and you're putting your name on it and your face on it, and you're like, this is it. So now some of the criticism has been silly, like, oh, the AI, whatever. I was actually criticizing the AI itself, not you. Because I saw the certain the way the shacks were. I'm like, you know what? You could create it that way. It's like the point is that, and you also kept the style all the way through. The same style of it's looked like the same artist. So you did use AI. I think that's a really shitty criticism to use for somebody. You used AI. Yes, everybody does. So anyway, that's a stupid one. We don't even need to talk about it more. But the other one that I was expecting, which we have a beautiful example of today, is, oh no, you are, you're not caring about the plight of those poor people that had nowhere to live during COVID.
And don't forget, it's an immigration problem. That's another.
Yes. It's also an immigration.
Do you want to read the one tweet, or do we talk about this first?
Which one? Okay, the original one that I looked at this morning, but now there's another one. Well, the other one okay, so this morning we had, yesterday actually. The point is, she said, wow, this person said you're picking on poor people. So that was the first thing. And one of the explanations is, guys, it's okay. It's terrible what happened, but we live in the most unequal country on earth. Poor people who were evicted had to make a plan. So listen, it's Chris, sorry for you. You had more and other people had less. Therefore, they had to take from you. That's just how the world works. And I really wonder how this person would feel if we went and did that. If there must be people that have less than her. Which that comment was made. So yeah, I think that sort of criticism it's like they're making it as if criticizing the way this occurs and somehow means that you don't care about homeless people.
Yeah, and like I was on News Africa. They also asked a similar question to me, and I said, listen, the PI Act is actually the problem because it's robbing the poor, the people waiting on a waiting list that were taken out of their homes during the apartheid era, right? Displaced, okay? Now the government said, we're going to give you homes. Okay, cool. They're on a waiting list. Every time, or not every time, most of the time, like 90-80% of the time, when there's a land grab, like you just showed the diagram, sometimes it's land earmarked for housing. I asked JP about this, and he said, yes, 80% of the time it is a common thing that every time there's a land earmarked for housing, there's a land grab. And what you're doing with that land grab, what these nefarious people are doing with that land grab, are actually robbing the poor who are waiting for a house, who've been waiting in sometimes 30 years for a house. Every land grab, not every land grab, but most of the land grabs rob those poor people. So you really want to cry for poor people, then you should be crying about those poor people. And it's interesting that some poor people have more currency than other poor people. You know what I mean? So this poor person was waiting for a house, but we must feel sorry for the other poor people that took over and robbed their chances of getting a house because they're poorer. Is that how that works?
Yeah.
You know, and to tackle the argument of immigration. Now, it might be true. I don't know, and hopefully my further investigations will reveal the truth. But for now, I can't speak on every land grab. I can't because I haven't investigated every land grab. And I'm sure in some areas, whether it be in KZN, Western Cape, wherever in South Africa, that there are a lot of immigrants in these townships or illegal occupation sites. So that might be true in some areas. Fine, fair enough. But what I can tell you about the Tygererg Raceway, because that's what I looked into, is that the majority of the people in those shacks are not Zimbabwean. They're Xhosa, which is South
yes,
African.
and that was a also another thing that there were people bussed in. There are people bussed in. I don't know about this particular one, but it is something that is discussed that people are brought in for this purpose. So, and it just there's too many factors. Like I one of the things I like to do is try and put everything into some sort of diagram thing, and I was like trying to keep track of all the factors that are involved in making this happen. It's not just like as much as I put that little line together, there's so much there is yes, of course there is, that we're an unequal society, absolutely, and wow, yes, the people higher up are taking advantage of the people down low. Shock horror, that's how it works. But the thing is just the complexity is what you're looking into and what you've uncovered at least a little bit about. There's so much more that you need to find out, but the main thing that this uncovered for everyone, I think, is that the PI Act it's in the laws, guys. It's in the laws, so yes, people all benefit from it.
And I felt that the PI Act in this edition of Stolen Ground was the bad guy. It is the bad guy of the show. It is the bad guy of the story. There are other acts that are also just as harmful to citizens, like ESTA, which I probably will get into in the next documentary, hopefully, or maybe the one after that, because I still haven't decided which documentary I'm going to go into. Oh, sorry, which story I'm going to go into. But the point is, there's many different stories to tell, and I think depending on the land grab that you look at, like I looked at the Tygererg Raceway, that was a business, that was a grassroots community racetrack that helped a lot of young racers, family vibe, there's a lot of comments and emails I got from people who used to race at the raceway and tell me how much they miss it and they long for it, and those are the good days of racing and stuff like that, and how their son, one of them told me how their son started there and now has moved on to like bigger and better things in racing, and their son is extremely grateful for the documentary. So there's a lot of these stories coming out, which I'm extremely grateful for. But it also shows what the community lost. And again, it's not just racing that was lost here. It's the businesses around. It's the accommodation that used to, if people wanted to stay over for a week while the racing was happening, they could Airbnb or whatever. There was accommodation, there was vendors, there was cooks, there was people just enjoying their time. It's a whole industry. And, and that's without talking about the building of the race cars, right? I didn't even think about that. But when Gary in the documentary brought that up, I was like, yeah, that's an excellent point. All these little things that just add to this ecosystem of just jobs and opportunity, and that is just gone. It really is a tragedy, and that's the story for the Tygererg Raceway. But future stories won't be on race cars. They will be, maybe it's a farm. How did this farm get taken? Why did it get taken? I mean, yesterday on Conscious Caracal, when I was on the show, he mentioned how the one forest has been taken over. And it's interesting because if you want to cut down a tree in that specific forest, you need a license. So how the hell did these people do it? And that's a compelling story. That's like, okay, that's piqued my interest now. How did it happen?
How does that happen?
Yeah. So every land grab, I think, has a unique story. There are going to be overarching themes like the PI Act and the legislation. Yeah. So I'm not going to go into another deep dive of the PI Act again. But it does. But now that that's out of the way, I have a chance to now go deeper into the stories that exist, which is what I plan on doing. Yeah.
That is the only thing that's what we need. We need that kind of investigative journalism. It's the only thing that's going to expose the stuff. Nobody's going to tell us anything otherwise. That's all fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's not happening. The president himself is telling you it's not happening. Of course, let's just listen to them.
Let's believe them. And also, like when it comes to the immigration topic, I'll keep that in mind for the next ones, and I'll see where the truth goes. That's exactly how I approached this one. Like, I spoke to Chris, and then I spoke to JP, and I spoke to everybody involved, and I even Mark Oppenheimer at one point was like, I asked him a question, and he said, "You're not going to like the answer," and I said, "I don't care. I want the truth. Whatever the truth is, tell me. Don't think that I'm looking for a narrative. I want the truth." And that's how I approach all my interviews, and that's what I'm going to do with the next one. I don't care if it's something I don't want to hear. I didn't agree with everything Daisy said, for example, but that's not the point. It's not. I have to put my opinions and my biases aside and let the people tell their story, and also careful not to twist anything, because some people also from their perception can twist things. But, at the same time, respect that that's also their opinion, and their opinion is allowed to be shared. And that's why I kind of included myself every now and again in the documentary to kind of, like, for example, when Chris said, the city must pay him back. I wouldn't say I corrected him. Yeah, I don't want to use the word that I corrected him, but I did clarify. Put it that way. I clarified what the contract said, and that is not an attack on him or to belittle him or anything like that. I discussed that with Chris before I released that information, because him and I were looking at the contract. So there's interesting things in that contract too. But anyway. So I'm just there to clarify things and maybe give an alternative, like, okay, this could be true, but this also could be true. I also try to do that a lot, and just guide the audience with all this information, just guide them to understand what is going on as best as I can, and leave it up to them to decide, who's really at fault. I mean, at the end, I give my opinion, but at the end of the day, the conversations are there, the topic is there, the facts are there. It's up to you guys to decide who's wrong, who's right. And at the end of the day, like, while the criticism of, oh, you picked on the poor, whatever, at the same time, it's like, well, you can have that opinion. You can. It's that's art. Everybody interprets an art piece differently. But to double down and then because that person went on and on and on about how I neglected the immigration, just like someone else told me, oh, why didn't you talk about how everybody was poor during COVID, Joe, and nobody had food? It's like, because I wasn't, there was a food crisis during COVID. That was the argument. Why didn't you talk about the fact that there was a food crisis during COVID, Joe, in this documentary? And it's because I'm not doing a documentary that looks at the food crisis during COVID.
Also, Joe, why didn't you solve all of South Africa's problems? Because you pointed out this problem.
Kitty, and the turtles. Don't forget about the turtles.
The turtles. Yeah. What happened? Is that your fault too?
Apparently, yeah, because I didn't include turtles and other things in this documentary.
Well, I think you should have included the impact of Woolworths chicken the roast chickens not being available, the open toe shoe law, all of it. You have to speak about everything, and you have to solve it as well. So, by the way, look, what happened when we were going through it, okay? So we also, because I go through it very painstakingly, a long time, I get through like 10 minutes in,
Which, by the way, I was very impressed with. Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to say I was very impressed with, because I don't think a lot of people pause and read the headlines. But you did.
Oh, yeah.
You paused, you read the headline, and you read the sub-headline, and I was like, I love it. Great.
These are references. Those are references. Yeah. Yeah, no, they were good. Like, you went to, they're not there for decoration, guys. They're like, and then also just, they were good screenshots. It wasn't like, like in movies where they have like the newspaper and the only thing you can see is the headline. It was proper. Yeah. And I appreciated that, because it's like, I would have to go and look for that headline. No, you did it yourself. That's your research right in front of me. Also, I really liked, I don't know if you saw the one thing, I'm just going to make a little short of it, but I really liked the diagram. You included a diagram, well, it's kind of a diagram, when you had arrows of all the different...
Oh, yes, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
You were fangirling all over that, yeah.
Because there's arrows and pictures, guys. It's a visual representation. I was very excited. But yeah, speaking back about that lease discussion, the lease thing and the fact that he expected them to pay him back and all of that, and the difference in the facts. I think you presented that really well, in that you weren't criticizing him as like he doesn't know what he's talking about. You actually were like, well, this is what they said, and there you go. And I really appreciated that difference. That okay, so for me in the diagram, I can put a line there and say this is the two things. Now let's look at it and say, does this change anything? Not really for me. It just makes it a bit. If that's what he was expecting, then it's even worse for him. But even if they aren't supposed to pay him for the development on his land, whatever, he developed on that land and then it was destroyed. Hello? Are we missing something here? No. There's fire and there's smoke.
It's like, Kitty, I don't know if you're renting in your area, but or where you live. But okay, yeah. So imagine someone barges in, right? And then burns your bookshelf. Burns your bookshelf, burns your books, burns everything, levels everything just to the ground, right? And maybe the only thing that's left is a little bit of infrastructure, like the pillars that keep the walls up or whatever, and the walls. Are you then not allowed to say, wait a second, someone deserves to, pay me back or compensate me or do something, my insurance, whatever, is supposed to protect me? Because that's essentially what the city was supposed to be, is like an insurance thing. But even what happened in his case is, let's say, using the same example I gave you now, it's like your insurance saying, "Oh, we don't cover that. We don't cover if someone comes in and burns your shit down. We don't," because that's essentially what the city did in clause 9. So. And
also the me saying, "Hey, police, please can you find the people that did this and let's put them in jail?" And no, the police like, sorry, we've got this
No.
SAR,
This,
yeah,
yeah,
this this
South African Human Rights Commission told us not to.
Yeah.
So
we can't. And then also the idea that there are like the police standing in front of like 1,500 people. What do you? That's like old school war, guys. What are you going to do with that many people? And they are shooting as well.
There was shooting, and there's a clip. I'll send it to you as well if you want to react to it. I didn't include
Please
it in
do.
the documentary. News SABC's on the ground during the land invasion. And just give it a few moments, like watch it, because there's one part where the police are talking to the land invaders or the protesters and telling them to calm down and keep distance or whatever. And then all of a sudden you just see stones, bricks being thrown at the cops. And even the reporter has to run away. So that's an interesting clip to look at.
It's fine. It's all justified. As long as you know, we got a good cause, we can do what we want to do. It's fine. Another interesting
part that JP, unfortunately I couldn't include it in the documentary. Maybe I'll release it on its own. Was he was talking about how everything was coordinated and how everything was planned. And you kind of see, let's see how good you are at remembering. There was an image I included of it. He didn't talk about it, but what I'm about to say, there's an image that shows it. Is that the reason why he believes it was very coordinated is because the people that were protesting and doing the invasion had makeshift shields made out of steel or coordinated steel, the same material that they used to build shacks. They had shields, and there's an image where I show that there's you see people hiding. The cops are gonna shoot rubber bullets or whatever, and they're hiding behind this makeshift shield.
I think I'm remembering more of them. It looked to me like they were bringing in the corrugated metal. I remember that.
No, there's that.
Yeah.
But but if you look closely, there's an image of that.
I need to put some screenshots on the diagram then.
I can send you. I'll try and find the link to that article, because that article has a picture. Yeah. But like that kind of stuff was happening, where people were making shields to protect themselves from rubber bullets and all that stuff. So this stuff is highly coordinated. And I'm sure there's from the shack farmers.
No, but it's incredible. Like how could you get that many? You can't get. How do you get that many people through? Like, hey guys, we're gonna have a land invasion today. And then it's like I suppose that it spreads. It's word of mouth, and then everybody gets together.
Yeah, I think Luyolo kind of touched on it in the documentary, where he's saying that when there's land earmarked for housing, the city and other individuals will go to the community, talk to the community, say that this is happening, and then there's expectations, and that's when the mafia comes in, when they learn, there's earmarked housing or earmarked land or whatever for housing, and then they speak to the people, and they spread these lies like, oh, you're not really going to get housing, come on, let's just take the land, mobilize people, tell people tomorrow we're going to take the land. I think that's more or less how they do it. They just communicate, and then the busing of people in, though, is the interesting one. That's something I want to try and find out, who exactly buses them in. Is it politicians or the mafias? Maybe it's both. I don't know.
It seems to be both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would expect both. Yeah.
Yeah. So I that's something I want to dig deeper into. But yeah, at the end of the day, somehow, some way, there's thousands of people that just come and they take over the land, and it's a problem. And I think another way they do it is, again, when I send you the link to the video, you'll see that there's organizations and NPOs that also will stand there and just tell people, take the land. Because there's in the clip I'll send you with the one farm that was taken over. It was a section of the farm. The leader, or I don't know.
It was only a section. Sorry, Joe. It was only a section. That's fine. You still have the rest. Okay.
Yeah. They thought it was abandoned land. That was their excuse. They thought it was land that the farmer wasn't using, and they were like, "Oh, we've seen this land for years. We're just going to take it."
It's not yours, though. That's not how the
Exactly.
world works. Okay, but yes.
Exactly. And then the guy's standing there like he's like the leader of this organized group, basically. And I think that's how it happens. I think there's a guy or person or whatever, shack farmer, whatever you want to call it, community leader, that just takes it upon themselves to say, you know what, tomorrow we've been staring at this land. It's been empty for I don't know how long. I'm going to speak to so and so and so and so. We're going to spread the word, and we're just going to tomorrow. It's happening. We're taking it over. I think that's more or less how it happens.
I've also I remember hearing stories like that. That's how normal protests happen as well. I suppose as well. There's someone that is being listened to by a crowd, and then it spreads, and then of course there are, like in any other mob, things just go overboard as well, and they just take advantage.
100%.
So they just steal things, go crazy.
And I think
stuff.
probably in some instances, they're funded by nefarious individuals, by the shack farmers, or by, the shack farmers instigate things, or the politician or whatever instigate things and say like, here's some material to make a shield, or here's guns. They had guns being fired back at them. How did they get the guns? That's also something I want to find out. Who supplied you with the guns?
And also go into the law of self-defense in South Africa. You got a little bit onto it yesterday with Conscious Caracol, but like that is a big deal as well. That's I was worried about Chris, because I'm like, Chris, you're talking about these things, you're talking about protecting your land as you should, but I don't know. I think that's another loophole that will be exploited by people, by the authorities, where they go, oh well, you look, he used violence, and they'll focus on him doing that, and it's like, but he was being attacked, and the police themselves get attacked as well. It was funny the way the guy said, yes, someone tried to immolate our personnel. I was like, yeah, that's a nice way to put it, but they Molotov'd your truck. But thanks.
And to that point as well, I think something that people don't understand is just how violent the Tygererg Raceway was. There was footage I didn't use of. There's a cop. I didn't use it because it wasn't freely available.
Okay.
No. It was behind a paywall, and they wanted $300 for the footage, and I was like, I don't have a budget.
How's about no?
But I would have loved to have used it. It was footage of a policeman standing in the streets near the raceway protest, and there's a green bottle with cloth coming out of it, and he kind of just moves it to the side, and that's a Molotov thing. That's a petrol bomb thing. So wish I could have used it, couldn't use it, but it's there. If you Google, you'll find it.
Good Lord. That's another thing I was telling the Americans, is like, we like burning tires in South Africa, and then here's a whole raceway, so there's lots of tires for them to burn for if there's a protest, we're burning tires, guys. At least hopefully it's just the tires we're burning and putting them on the floor, but that's it. Very violent. I think this was a good one to start with. So it actually really, the fact that it's a whole community. I think any land grab will have effects on anyone. Just like if the government takes the land from you, it will have huge effects as well. Anybody taking property away is not a good idea. I think I'm really worried that just if we go into the property rights of it all, I'm worried that people don't realize this is a problem until it's too late, until it won't happen to me. That was the main message I also got from you, is like the lot. This is Daisy. This is the real Daisy. Hi, Daisy.
Sweet, man.
So she, thanks for ruining my train of thought. But the way that you ended off the
Expropriation Act and it won't happen to you, that kind of way.
The way that you ended off the diagram, the documentary, in that, listen, this could happen to you. This is the main message. If you're going to forget all of the sensation that I've just given you, just remember that something as silly as this law can really They don't give a damn about you. You can be 5 years down the line with nothing. That everything was just taken from you, and people say, "Oh, shame," and that's about it. And that's why we need. Let's go on to it. You to continue looking into this as well, and that's also why, guys, you need to share it, even if you're not South African. Just share it, okay? Share it around. Share it to Elon several times.
Yes, please do that.
He's gonna have to see it. My goodness. Yeah, and let me see if my command works, by the way, guys, because speaking of donations, I think it's stolen. I've got the little command for sending people to the Backer Buddy, I think.
Yes, it's the Backer Buddy, or the website. Yeah, either one.
Yeah,
it's.
I think.
Yeah,
the
find
website.
The information there.
Is Backer Buddy only South African? Does it
Apparently
allow
so, yeah.
international? Okay, because I was thinking I would have to do an international one.
You'll have to check. You have to go through.
Yeah.
I think they are. I think they do allow for international. I don't see why not. But you would have to just go through the process and see. But that's why I also left. Saw some studio secrets there. No. Yeah, like that's why I also included the bank details if people aren't comfortable with using the website or the Backer Buddy. But I probably should include the Swift information as well. I'm not sure if it's there actually. I should check.
Look, yes. If you put the Swift there for us international girlies, I like this channel more than Joe's channel. Matthew is shots fired. Thanks, Matthew.
No, Matthew, listen, you probably don't know this, Kitty, but Matthew is a longtime viewer of my channel. And I like to refer to him as my resident troll because he comments all the time. Funny things and trolley-like things. He's on that line. He's on that line of like a nice troll, almost irritating troll. He knows how to dance on that line very well. So there are moments where, I'm like, did he mean that? Did he not mean that? Is he being irritating? Is he not? Like, I don't know. And he plays it very, very well, and I enjoy it. It's become a staple of our channel as well. And I often tell my guests when they're on my channel, don't worry about Matthew.
Don't worry about him, please, guys. Don't take him seriously.
He's having fun.
don't feed the trolls. Just let them have a good time. Yeah,
he really is the only troll I allow on my channel. Like he really is. Like other guys, like I have a rule on my channel. Like just like because you're allowed to come in and have your different opinions and all that stuff. It's fine. But the moment you start insulting my guests or me, you're banned. I'm not even going to tolerate it. Like just go away.
Yeah, I'm starting to try and I'm. It's very hard to keep that balance because you want a nice community. You want people to be able to talk to each other and things like that. But it can be entertaining when somebody disagrees and things like that. But it is quite tough online. You're the boss of your channel. So yes, if people get banned, they get banned. So good luck. Or do another thing that you hide the person from the channel, and all they'll do, they don't know they're banned. They are screaming into the void and nobody can see them. That is the most amazing idea. Thank you, YouTube. I love that idea because they sit there keep typing. No one. It's like the mute function for X, right? So I often mute quite a few people, because I'm like, you know what? I want you screaming. I want you to see my stuff, and I want you to scream, but I don't want to. I don't want to see you. So yeah. But on X does it say this person is muted? I think I've got that. You've muted this person. Yeah. YouTube doesn't even let you know that person's there. They are gone. They're going into the thing. But okay, just while let's go into what's your vision for Stolen Ground 2? Because I am really people were like, oh, go on to do this other stuff yesterday with Conscious Caracol. I'm like, no, I want Stolen Ground 2. Thank you very much. I'm very interested in all the other things. Give him enough money and we can have several documentaries going on at once. But yeah, Stolen Ground 2, tell us.
I don't think I've mentioned this on anyone else's interviews, but there are other organizations that have approached me since making this documentary. I'm not going to name who, but other stories to be told that don't focus on land grabs, that focus on other issues in South Africa. So keep your eyes open. Again, with those organizations, I told them, look, it's funding. It's funding that's all going to keep us from doing this. So you know, they've gone out to their people and they're going to have chats and conversations. So there are other documentaries that I'm going to make that are not focused on stolen ground, but they might not be on my channel. They might be on other people's platforms and stuff like that. And I don't mind. At the end of the day, I actually really enjoy making documentaries, surprisingly. But Stolen Ground 2 and possibly 3 and 4, but right now it's Stolen Ground 2, is going to focus on a different area in the Western Cape that also experienced a land grab. And like I said before, I would like to go deeper into the mechanics of it, into who's really, really behind it. I've kind of definitely said in the first one that the PI Act is behind land grabs in general in South Africa.
That's
but
the
now
main
let's
message,
but now let's go a little bit deeper than that. Who exactly is using? Okay, we know it's politicians, we know it's shack farmers and all this stuff that manipulate. But let's go deeper. Let's find out who exactly, if possible, without getting myself killed. Who exactly is?
I'm worried about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and my wife is too. She's like, listen, you can do it, but just don't get yourself killed. And I explained it to her like this. I get the feeling that I can poke around the bear, all right? I can look under a stone that's next to the bear. And I can kind of poke the bear's paw a little bit and stuff like that. But the moment I poke its belly or I poke a bit too hard, the bear's going to attack. And that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from just my first experience with this. And I think that's what I'm going to try and do. It's like, okay, let's see how far we can poke. Let's see how close we can poke. But the moment I feel like, and it's quite easy, and a lot of people are very protective. So like with the first one, I had a lot of ideas that were going to get me in trouble and in danger. And my security consultant basically said, no, don't do that. You're an idiot. Don't do that. And I was like, okay.
Don't play with fire.
But there are ways, my security consultant, who hopefully will be on board with the next one, there are ways to skin a cat. Sorry to use that phrase.
Yeah.
There are many ways to do it, to get the shot I want, to get the interviews I want. We just got to be careful and dig deeper, which is what's going to happen in the next one. So yeah, guys, if you want to support, if you want to see another one, go to that link. And I'm going to repeat what I said on Conscious Caracal. Like, you don't have to donate thousands of rands. I appreciate if you do. There have been individuals who have. I'm greatly appreciative of that. But literally, if 3,000 people donate 50 rand, I've hit the goal.
And 50 rand is how many dollars? It's like
50 cents or something.
50 rand in dollars, guys, because it sounds like I'm not going to do $50. It's like, no, guys, you don't understand.
It's like it's hold on. It's about 10 is about 20 rand, so it's about $30, $40, somewhere there. No,
50
30,
rand
30.
is $2.83.
What?
50 rand is $2.83.
Wow, my math is way off.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
So like 2 point. So guys, sorry, just don't have your beef jerky or something. Beef jerky is probably more expensive than that, actually, but just one less coffee and there it is. And then you could be like, hey, I helped somebody in South Africa. Ooh. And also Joe's an American. So what are you doing here? Okay? Be patriotic. Okay? Math is racist. You know what it is. I've decided to skip a coffee. Drink water.
I think for anybody who does watch this and wants to donate, like I said, if 3,000 people donate 50 rand or $2.50 or whatever, we'll make it. And the documentaries hits 135,000 views, so it's not difficult to find 3,000 people to donate little bits of money. Someone this morning actually donated 50 rand, which is great. And at the end of the day, the moment we hit the goal, that's when we do the next one. And I guarantee you that there's 2 areas that I'm looking at now, because I've just gotten an influx of emails from people who living in these areas, who are like, please do the next one on this area.
Sure, that's overwhelming. Too much choice.
I know. But the thing, like, I feel bad in the sense of like, I have to choose. I either have to choose one, or I have to up the budget and do both.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like 150K is a lot of money for to raise. And I don't, yeah, it sounds like a lot of money, but at the same time, like if you look at commercials that are being made these days, it's like easy in the millions of rands to produce and to make. So it's really not that much. But I don't know. I'm still deciding on it. I might make the target 300K and then see how it goes. Because doing the reason why I would do that is because the 2 areas that people keep on emailing me about are actually very close to each other. So I could hit 2 birds with 1 stone. You know, if I take like a week or 2 to film, I'd be relatively close to both areas, and I could get it all filmed, and then I could release 2 and 3, you know, like a Netflix series.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I imagine it would be. I'm hoping Netflix picks that up and you're like, use your quotas that you have to do South African content or whatever. Go into it. Good, come.
Well, I'm hoping that if people are wondering what the budget is for, it's security, travel expense, accommodation, and equipment. So I do want to try and make the documentary Netflix ready, if I can put it that way, so that because they have a very specific way, or they have a specific format that they want certain projects handed in. So you have to film certain cameras, you have to film a certain stuff. And I've got a DOP friend who's very experienced with that. So I'll just hire him and I'll be like, just you deal with it. That's another reason for the budget. Like I got to hire a team, and stuff like that. And then the other reason for the budget is, which I think is the most important with what I want to do, is it's just safety. I think I have to keep myself safe, the crew safe. So there's a safety expense to it, and that's very important. But yeah, and then in return for your donation, you get a shout out during the documentary. So you'll be in the credits as a producer. You will also receive, you also get access, private preview type of thing. Like you'll get first, you'll get to see the documentary first, is what I'm trying to say, before everybody else. And I'm working on something else. I want to give something else, but I'm not sure what yet. But we'll think of something. So yeah.
Well, I'm already sold. I was already going to donate. I hope everybody else is sold. Come on, guys. Yeah. Awesome stuff. I'm excited to see what you watch party. No, I'm like, listen, you and people. If we have to put it behind a paywall, you oaks are paying, eh? So it's another thing. I really like the fact as well that we were all able to watch it, and I really appreciate you not copyright claiming me and shit like that. I was really worried that you would take it that way, that I was trying to just use your content. So I hope that people that discovered the documentary go and they've viewed it on the original link as well. So we have those views. Yeah.
I've noticed even on TikTok that some people have taken clips of the documentary, but at the end of the day, it's getting out there. It creates curiosity because I saw people in the comment section saying like, "Oh, what's the name of this documentary?" or "Where do I watch it?" and stuff like that. So it creates curiosity in people Google and stuff like that. And I can see from my analytics on YouTube that people are Googling Stolen Ground and trying to find it. So it does one way or another come back to the channel and people find it, which I'm extremely grateful for. So I'm not, I said to myself when I released this last week, I said, people are going to take it, people are going to clip it, people are going to do things. They might even download the entire thing and put it on another channel. That I will copyright claim. But,
yes, do it.
But if it's people reacting to it, if it's people putting out little clips or whatever, I'll leave it, because at the end of the day, it does spread the message out more and makes people more aware. So I'm very lenient when it comes to that. But if you're going to take the entire thing and then put it on your own channel,
you're stealing it. Yeah, then
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
selling it. Property rights, you want to know? There, yeah, intellectual property rights. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
so-
time. This is time and money that you put into it. So, like, yes, you had no budget, but time is money. Okay, and if
Yeah,
this,
no,
and
100%.
again, yeah, again, one of the greatest things is like just look at what it was now without the budget. That's another reason to donate now, so we can get even better stuff afterwards.
Yeah, imagine what I can do with a
mm.
budget is what I say.
Yeah.
Because and then with some investors I've spoken to, they're like, yeah, but you can do it without. So and I'm like, but do you want it to be better? Do you want it to be visually better, more compelling, better,
Could we maybe
like
advertise
everything?
it? Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a whole
that's the other
yeah.
thing. Marketing, there is a marketing budget in that 150K. So
Yeah, exactly, because you do
so
need to.
so we need the funding. That's it. And also, like, guys, I'll be completely honest. I started doing this documentary. Like I said, I didn't really know when I started looking into this topic that it was going to be a documentary. Then I decided, well, let me try doing a documentary. And I did approach people for funding, but I got the feeling that a lot of the people I was speaking to at the time were like, Joe, you've got like this YouTube channel thing. We haven't really seen you do a documentary. How do we know it's going to be good? How do we know it's going to be something? There was no evidence to show an investor a product, which is fair. I mean, there's scams and stuff. I mean, some of these people had never heard of me before,
Yes.
and I could be scamming them. So I understood where the investor was coming from, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to do this on my own, and I'm going to do it with no budget to show you guys what I can do with no budget.
And you did.
And I did, and it was very successful. It is successful. And now those same people are in conversation with me. So I think that was the problem at the beginning. And I prefer, yeah, be careful with what I say here. I would love anyone to fund this project, whether you're an investor or back a buddy, builds up the funds or whatever. I will just warn individuals, whoever it is, whether it's an investor or whatever, just because you invest in something and you've given me the task of making something, don't get upset with the end result if it's not according to what you expected it to be, because that's a problem I find with
investing.
Funding. Investing is that a lot of people get really attached to the project, and then they think that, because I put in money, I have a say in how you tell the story. But in this case, I want to make it clear that you're entrusting me to tell a good story.
Yes.
And Stolen Ground, the first one, should be proof of that. I told a good story. I looked for the truth, and that's what I'm going to do with the next one. I'm going to look for the truth, even if it's a truth that's uncomfortable for anyone, whether you're on the left or the right or centrist or whatever. Doesn't matter what political where you come from or political spectrum you fall in. I'm looking for the truth, and that's what you are donating. You're donating for the truth. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
No, I think that's that's actually the reason people like to do those backer buddies from GoFundMe, those sort of things, because indie basically is where people are like, oh, okay, there wasn't this corporate overlord that was pulling the strings, because it seems like that it's inevitable, it happens. And we would like, I think the best way that a creator can do is what they can do is say to their investors, listen, that I'm in charge here, but you're part of this, but you're trusting me. Like you said, we're trusting you to tell the story we want to. That's why we're supporting you in the first place. We're not, if you want to make your own story, go and make your own story, or hire someone to tell the story you want to tell. But if you're investing in a documentary maker, in an investigative journalism, it's the story that actually is important here. You're just helping the story be discovered. That's it. I think, I don't know, speak to your attorneys and things like that to figure out if putting that in the contract. The big investors with balls, they will be able to take that and enjoy it and be like, yeah, that's it. Free media. That's it.
100%. 100%. So yeah. I do want to ask you one question though,
Mm-hmm.
if I can.
Yeah.
I'm gonna flip the script a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to come onto my show and have a conversation about your life?
Me? Really? On your show? Yes, absolutely. Thanks for
Cool, awesome.
no. You put me on the spot. I'm gonna have to change my answer later. Um, no, I that would be very exciting. I would really enjoy that. You're so much fun to talk to. So
Thank you, thank you.
just put a limit on me and tell me when to shut up, and then we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, as someone said there, fun fact: Kitty is funded by Saudi Investment Fund. I didn't know that. That's
No,
awesome.
I'm nearby, but no. Horses United new member. Thank you very much. Also, Horses
Cool.
United second. I'm a horse person, but I'm just not allowed to ride them anymore because okay, I am allowed. I just don't because it's hot right now,
Okay.
and also it's a. I used to ride them quite regularly, and then I broke my hip. So I hope you're a horse person. So, or what are you, a betting person? Is that why your name's that? You're one of, you love cats? Okay, well then you are part of the colony now. Now I have to give Joe a super chat. You have to give him a super chat every time he's live, Matthew. I don't understand this.
Matthew,
Right.
rather take that super chat and donate to the Back Buddy. Do that.
Yes.
Do
Go
that.
and do it. And can you put a little message in there because he'll want to troll you with it.
Yeah, you can.
So yeah, maybe
Yeah.
if you donate over 200 rand, you can get a message through to Joe and troll him that way. You can insult him. I don't know. I'm trying to make money for you. Okay. Don't forget to smash the like button. 1 like equals 1 land invader behind bars. Creamage knows how to solve the problem, guys. So we just need we need about 20,000 likes and we're good. Okay. I love horses.
That's brilliant.
Creamage is honestly he's the best. When you hear the outro music, just understand that's Creamage's design. The moral of his did he say the moral of his movie? Carissa was with us when I was watching this, and one of the things that she was like, she actually almost I didn't finish my point. Where we were, most of the first part of the documentary and the first parts was about the problem, and then Carissa was one of the people that was like, okay, well, what's the solution here? You know, what's the solution? And they were kind of criticizing that we've only got the problem, and I'm like, no, he's getting into it, and we actually started that. We had a whole part of you just talking about people trying the legislation changes and things like that being a solution. But honestly, just in my opinion as a viewer, it's such a complex thing that the solution is just not easy, and also it's not Joe's responsibility. Unfortunately, Joe can't fix South Africa. Joe for president, but Joe can't fix South Africa. So,
yeah, the truth is, the solution is that the whole system needs to change. You have a very integrated system of nefarious individuals, corruption, mafiosos, and you need someone who's brave enough to just go through the system, break it down, put people in jail, and change the legislation, change the policies. That is the solution. And what the DA and Referendum Party are doing is part of the solution, but it's not the complete solution. And who knows, maybe if the DA get it right and they're able to change or amend the PI Act, and it does then become they get what they want. So they want to make it so that you can arrest people who incite land invasions. They want to make it that, you know, private property is protected, or property is protected in general. So you can't just erect a shack and then be protected and all that stuff. No, if you're there and you don't have permission to be there, then you get evicted. And with looking at vulnerable people, so like if it's a pregnant woman or a mom and a child, there'll be a special case for that. Alternative accommodation kicks in and all that stuff. But it should be taken on a case-by-case basis, which I think that's what the amendments are going to do. That's what the RP wants to do as well, which I think are all good solutions and need to be done. There's no doubt about that. These things need to be actioned as quickly as possible. But that's also the other issue, is that, you know, the DA, they went to the, what's it called, the Portfolio Committee with their amendments. Yes. The Portfolio Committee accepted the amendments, but the Portfolio Committee is also going to rebuttal the amendments, not rebuttal, but also give like other amendments.
Add their own.
Yeah, on March 2026. So that's a
Oh,
whole
no. That blew my
year,
mind.
a
Uh-huh.
whole year of us still in this situation. So, and the RP, as far as I know, still haven't tabled their bill yet. And look, politics is slow. It just
That's
how it
slow.
is.
Yeah.
When I spoke to Mark and Martin, they said, unfortunately, it is slow. This is part of the game. But at the end of the day, someone is doing something about it. And whether we like it or not, I think these changes need to happen. And then hopefully from there, once we have the legislation that allows to criminalize land invaders and stuff like that, we can actually start putting people in jail and then breaking apart the system, breaking apart
Mm.
the nefarious back end of it that is destroying property rights in South Africa.
Yeah.
I think that's the solution, but unfortunately, it's going to take time. And hopefully, what I fear most that might happen is, South African ministers and MPs and politicians, they switch roles all the time.
Oh, yeah. They
Luyolo,
shuffled it.
yeah, Luyolo wasn't always the spokesperson for the portfolio committee. He was involved in
Mhm.
something else. But he's a great guy. He knows his stuff. And I worry that maybe just before March 2026, they replace him with someone else. I think the person before him was, and I wanted to chat to her, but I didn't. I chatted to Leola, so it was better. And she's
Mm.
now for foreign affairs in the DA. Emily Palm or something like that, or Amy Palm, something like that. I can't remember.
Mhm.
So she used to be in charge of the whole informal settlement. She actually started the amendments with the PI Act. She
Ah.
started to make those changes, and then she switched positions, and then Luyolo took over and continued that fight. But my fear is like, okay, come 2026, someone replaces Luyolo, and then for whatever reason decides, we don't really need to change the PI Act, or might feel, some of the amendments aren't necessary for whatever reason. That's my fear. Is like
Yeah.
how the can keeps being pushed down the road.
Yeah. It seems like
Yeah.
that is just, that's the frustrating thing about governments. Just any government, it's like, okay, well, we swap people, so people change, so then that we have to restart the whole flipping process again. Nobody is consistent. Nobody's staying in the same place long enough for change to occur. And one of the things Vika in chat said, she said, well, cultural shift has to change. Cultural change has to happen as well. That's even longer. That takes even longer, because cultural change comes from all different kinds of spheres that need to change around for the country. Because you're not going to intellectually convince people that they're better off not invading land. You're not going to do that. They don't have a place to live. What are you talking about? This is the best thing I can do. I can't get an RDB house, but I'll pay the the shack
Shack
farmer
farmer.
guy, because I have nothing else. What do you expect from me? And again, all the systems that benefit from the poor people being poor and remaining poor. So much needs to. It makes me sometimes feel a bit hopeless. But then when you showed the clips of the raceway being an industry and the culture of South Africa and things like that, I got a bit hopeful. Obviously, that's taken away, but it's like that's what South Africa has to offer, and what it needs is just
There's
making stuff.
there's there's definitely something to be said about the culture. I think the culture also starts from the top in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
ANC. So
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
ANC is what spreads these narratives of, white man bad, and we need to take
Mm-hmm.
from the white person, or we need to take from the rich, or we need to take from
Mm-hmm.
take. And we're going to help you
It's
do it.
ours.
We're
Yeah.
going to give you houses. We're going to give you social grants. We're going to give you at the expense of the taxpayer. And I think one solution would be to completely out get rid of the ANC in a non-violent way.
Yes.
But
Democratic.
during elections, people go to the ballots and vote. And here's, like, people always say, like, oh, but the democracy doesn't exist and blah blah blah. Here's the thing, guys. For those naysayers that say democracy doesn't exist and that the voting system doesn't work, say ANC is officially below 50%. It's what created the whole GNU, so it has some effect. The biggest problem actually isn't that people vote. I would argue it's people don't vote. So there's
Yeah.
a large amount of people that register to vote, but only 20% of them go to vote. And that just speaks to how the South African population is actually very, upset with the government in general. They don't feel that there's a party that they can trust. They don't feel that there's a party they can support. And I think that's on the parties' responsibility, and should be all the parties' goal is to reach those people that aren't voting. But rather you have the DA, the ANC, and all the others that are kind of fighting for the already existing voter base that go and vote, which is the wrong approach.
Yeah.
You're not tackling, for example, I've met an ANC supporter at a protest who literally said to me, he is ride and die ANC, and that's his party. They liberated the people, blah 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 blah. But he doesn't vote. He doesn't vote for them anymore because he's upset with them. Now, it's up to the party, whether it be the DA or whatever, to go to that individuals like him and say, listen, we understand that you feel the way you do, but give us a chance. And it's not my job to now have a whole marketing spiel. It's the DA or whatever party, to change the mind of that voter, to say, give us a chance, vote for us. And parties aren't doing that.
Yeah. The thing that I seem to be spreading, I suppose, because the way things are, I'm by no means an authority on South Africa, especially just being detached. As I'm still speak to my parents, still speak to my South African friends, everything, but just not being there, I do think that does remove me a lot from. I think I've also consciously just tried to put a lot of it out of, because it hurts. Out of my mind, but I've come back to it, especially this year. But one of the things that I say is that it seems like a lot of the voters, like you said, they will only, if they vote, it's for ANC, and if they vote for anything else, to them, it feels like they are voting for apartheid to come back. There is no, I mean, if they're voting for DA, it's definitely going to be apartheid, because DA is the white party. Is that, what do you think of that?
That's the narrative that the ANC and other political parties have spread in South Africa, for sure. And unfortunately, look, it's a very interesting dynamic that's happening in South Africa that people don't talk about. Is that you have a very poor population. The majority of South Africans are poor. The majority of South Africans are black. The majority of South Africans don't have jobs, right? So you have this combination. What happens when you have that combination? You have uneducated people who don't know any better and only listen to what they thought were heroes, and some still do. Some still think the ANC are heroes. But again, it seems like the population is waking up slightly, because, again, the ANC is below 50%. But that could be just because people didn't necessarily shift to other parties. They just were like, I'm not going to vote. And then the shift happened. And in terms of the narrative of, if you vote for the DA, apartheid, that is happening. The ANC goes into the townships and spews their narrative and all their marketing points, and don't vote for the DA because apartheid is going to come back. But the DA has managed to make some strides in South Africa, has managed to switch some people over, which is great. But then again, the DA isn't what it always was. I think the DA, since joining the GNU, has changed quite a bit. They're now in government. They're no longer the opposition. And I think that's one of their problems, is they're trying to be the opposition, but at the same time trying to play along. And that's confusing the voters, because on the one, like we've seen it recently, where John Steenhuisen will support the expropriation bill, but then under a DA uniform, he's not the minister now. He's not the Minister of Agriculture. He's now DA leader, right? He wears the DA stuff and has the DA hat on and whatever, and says, we are against Expropriation Act. We don't like it. We are fighting it, blah, 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 blah.
Says the things,
in another interview, when you're wearing the ANC stuff and you're under the ANC agriculture minister, you're saying it's a good thing, and that is deeply, deeply confusing to the voters. And I think
sellouts. Really, it's like they're sellouts. Yeah,
they have sellouts, but they've also hurt themselves. And I think the DA of National is different to the DA of the Western Cape. The Western Cape DA is very different. They're actually trying to fight and keep the ANC out. I fear that they're losing against the PA. The PA seems to have been taking a lot of awards as of late, which is also a bit surprising because Gayton, I just did a video today on Gayton, and I don't trust him. But either way, the point is, to answer your question, yes, there definitely is a disconnect between reality with the voters and what the ANC says to them that they believe. And at the end of the day, I believe it's all orchestrated that way because you keep the people poor, you keep the people dependent, you keep them uneducated, and you can tell them anything you want and they will believe it. And they won't want to bite off the hand that feeds them because they're dependent on the social grants and all that stuff. Yeah. So they're desperate enough and they will believe. But it seems like the tide is shifting. I hope it continues to shift. But at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of... I think it comes across, the responsibility lays on a few people, the politicians, media, and under media, I include myself and other people like Ronaldo and Conscious Caracal and all these other guys, the independent media people who need to tell the truth, who need to inform people, who need to help with that tide shifting. So yeah, I think with those people's voices, things will change, but it is going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Patience,
and
everybody.
You have to reach those that are poor. You have to reach the guys in the townships, the ones there, because they are also the ones that will sometimes go vote, and you have to just change people's mind and stuff like that. And that, again, it's going to take time, but I do see the ANC hopefully not being in power maybe by 2029. I do think that the GNU has slowed down the rot. The rot is still there, but it's definitely slowed it down a little bit. I do think that the GNU is going to destroy the DA. I think that's the ANC's game plan now, is they want to destroy the DA. Because think about it, the DA was the biggest opposition before the GNU. So if you destroy them from within and they get destroyed, then you don't have a very large opposition anymore. No. And I think I do think that's their game plan at the moment. Whether or not they're going to be successful, only time will tell. And as for MK and EFF, I wouldn't worry about them. They can't work well together. EFF is a shell of what it used to be. Everybody's jumped over to MK, and MK, while very radical, the MK hates the ANC. So yeah, I agree with Ronaldo on his analysis on that MK and EFF, they are dangerous. Don't get me wrong. They have very dangerous ideas. But Martin and Ronaldo agree that if the MK were in power, if EFF was in power with the ANC, there would be so much infighting, nothing would get done, and they would self-implode.
I heard that analysis as well from your one of the other interviews you were having, the two guys, and the first thing I heard, I was like, yes, absolutely, that makes sense. But then obviously, me being paranoid, I'm like, what if they just sell out to each other and they all start being friends because they all hate, like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They start working on the DA, but I don't know. I'm hoping they're just frothy to the point of, and when I mean by frothy as well, that they just cannot work together, and that's the end of it. It's
there is real resentment between the I would say Zuma and Cyril, even though they come from the same stem, if I can put it that way. But I think there is real animosity there. But you do bring up a point. We thought the DA would never work with the ANC, and then the GNU happened, and then they still fight, but they still don't fight. It's a weird thing that they
say
to do.
The things, and they don't do the things.
Yeah. And the same thing could happen with the MK and EFF, where I believe other things might happen in South Africa. If the MK and EFF do come into power, yes, South Africa is going to be in trouble. But we also have to keep in mind the international attention that exists now with America and South Africa. I don't think it's going to be good from an international relationship point of view if those parties are in government, because they're going to attack the US quite hard.
Oh yeah,
the US is not going to like that. So we'll see sanctions, we'll see all that stuff definitely happen. And then the other thing that might happen as well is all the independence movements that exist right now in South Africa. There's the KZN is calling for independence. Western Cape is calling for independence. There's another, I think
I thought
it's
it was
Northern Cape, or I can't remember. There's another province calling for independence. KZN and the other province are small at the moment. The noise is quite small, but in the Western Cape it's getting louder.
the Western Cape's the loudest, in my opinion. Like,
Yes. So,
yeah.
but it's almost like a domino effect. So I believe, and this is just my analysis, in my opinion, if MKEFF come into power, Western Cape is then going to switch. It's going to be all on board for independence. It's going to happen.
Out, boys.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if the Western Cape achieves that, you will see KZN and the rest follow. So basically, I believe if MK or EFF get in power, you will see the destruction of South Africa, but not in the destruction you're thinking of, the whole place burning.
The dissolution.
Yes, just everybody's just going to split and be their own thing, because the KZN guys, they're really advocating for that. I've interviewed the ABC party, who the leader is advocating for that. Yeah, they want it because it's majority also Zulus, and they, they're like their own land, and they have the whole kingdom set up in that area.
Yeah.
So
that was something that Roman was kind of hinting on, about as Zulus and Afrikaners working together or whatever. But I suppose that is a thing to think about. The different nationalities we have within South Africa might actually get along if we just.
That's why
we stay away from each other.
No, I there was a similar question asked to me in a different interview if I believe in the Rainbow Nation message, and
yes,
I don't. In South Africa's current situation, I don't believe in it. I do believe that it can happen. I do believe that it still can happen, but I think, and this is going to be very controversial to say, I think that what the apartheid system tried to do, even though incorrectly, I don't agree with discrimination or segregation or
really?
Whites and blacks
Shock
only.
Horror. Yeah.
But I think what they set out to do and failed miserably at doing was like a European kind of vibe. So in Europe you have Italians, you have Spain, you have all the different kinds of culture, but they all have their areas to be who they want to be, to keep their culture alive and all that stuff. Europe isn't a bad place in terms of allowing certain cultures to be who they want to be. And I think that was the idea with South Africa. Because there are so many tribes, there are so many cultures, there's so many things, let everybody have their little space, and we can all trade and integrate and all that stuff as much as we want and stuff. But, here's Zululand, here's the Western Cape, here's that, but we're all our own little hubs, our own little countries.
We have our own cultures,
and our own cultures. And I think that's where South Africa is headed. It's going to take probably 2-3 generations to get there.
Yeah.
But I think that at the end of the day, because the truth is, when the media says, white people hate black people, and you hear all these racist stories in South Africa, the majority of the time, one, they're not racist, and two, different tribes in South Africa don't like each other, and that's not a secret.
No, it's a secret to the rest of the world. They don't seem to understand that. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think that if it was a situation where every culture and every tribe had its own little area, and it kind of already is happening, because like KZN is mainly Zulu and Indian. Western Cape's a lot of colored. The majority is colored in the Western Cape, so it's kind of already happening. It's just a matter of making it official. Like saying, okay, cool, Western Cape's going to be its own country. And a lot of people freak out because oh, I got to get a passport to go to the Western Cape to see my family. How? And it's like,
no.
If you go to Namibia, you need a passport. Like it's, it's
but
it makes no difference.
We can have an agreement that visa on arrival. It's okay. We're still friends, guys. Yeah.
And there's a lot of like I really, that argument's really like stupid. But anyway, I don't think if independence had to happen in South Africa, whether it be Western Cape or KZN or any other area, I don't think it's going to change that much. The only thing that's going to change is border control. Yes, you're going to need a passport, maybe your own currency. Obviously, you're going to become your own country. So in that way, things are going to change. But the culture, just because Western Cape becomes independent doesn't mean coloreds are not going to eat Gatsby's anymore, for example. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have bras anymore, for example. It doesn't mean that we're not going to watch rugby.
Only bras. Yeah, only one bra. Only bras in Western Cape. What's it? Gauteng, no bras, not allowed. So
that's not going to happen.
Like, yeah, we're
still going to hold on to our history and our culture and all that stuff. That's not going to change. The only thing that's going to change is probably the attack on private property and race-based legislation that hopefully the Western Cape, whatever the new country it becomes, will do away with. And we'll be able to control for the people that exist in the Western Cape. And once I said it's a colored, predominantly colored, I would love to see a colored president. I have no issue with that. Not Gayton, but someone else, a little bit more less radical and more for the people. And see, because like that's the thing, colored people have been unfairly treated in both apartheid and now with the ANC. During apartheid, they weren't white enough. During the ANC, they're not black enough. And I think it's time. I think it's time for a colored person to step up and take control and be the president of the Western Cape and stuff like that. And hopefully not identity politics. Just serve the people of the Western Cape. Make it prosperous. Do away with all the racist stuff that exists, all the racist legislation, BEE, and furthermore, and employment equity and all that crap. Do away with all that stuff. Make it as free market as possible to allow for growth and prosperity in what was once called a rainbow nation. I think the Western Cape can become that. And I think other parts of South Africa can become that. But it is the ANC that has prevented the rainbow nation from happening, ironically, because they marketed for it. But it is completely them, 100%, that have caused poverty, that have caused education, unemployment, unsafety. We're not a safe country. 70 people die a day in South Africa. We're worse than a war zone. That's how bad it is. So yeah, I think it starts with that. I think that's the solution. Get rid of the ANC, and you will see a prosperous nation. And if you can't get rid of the ANC, then maybe independence is the answer, and we'll finally see a prosperous country. Western Cape and the KZN could rise in their own way, in their own little, countries, and the rest of South Africa could fail. It is what it is.
That's a hopeful message, though. The rest of South Africa can fail, but seriously, you need someone you need at least one area to say, screw this, screw this mess. We're getting ourselves, we need to do our own business over here. The reason I was smiling when you were saying about the ANC is because I remembered in the documentary, one of the best moments was that you were like, in my opinion, the ANC is to blame. I was like, yes, they are. Obviously there's a lot of blame to go around. Don't worry. But yeah, that was one of the things that came to mind. So I wasn't smiling at the demise of South Africa at the hands of the ANC. I was just smiling at Joe's
no,
comment.
Obviously, and I think to that point as well, like the DA are also at fault. But I will say this about the DA: they are trying. JP Smith is definitely trying. There's no doubt about that. And I know some people have gripe with JP. Fine. I don't know why you would have a gripe, not you, but like viewers or whoever, would have a gripe with JP, and maybe a conversation, maybe you saw something, I don't know. But with me personally, I don't have a gripe with him because he's done nothing wrong to me. I saw a man who's really trying to fight against the system that is completely stacked against him. And he's doing the best he can. And he may not be able to do it fast. He may not be able to do it with aggressiveness, but that's not his fault. That is the fault of the ANC, once again, with this legislation and harmful legislation that exists right now in South Africa. Can the DA do more? Yes. I do think the DA could do more, and that would be my criticism to them, is I think that right now they're existing in the Western Cape with when it comes to land invasions, they're fighting it with one hand tied behind their back. The PI Act is keeping their hand behind their back. And instead of trying to use this free hand to untie themselves, they're too busy trying to do something else with their hand And what I mean by that is the DA has the power in the Western Cape to change housing policy and legislation within the Western Cape. So they could have actually tackled the PI Act long ago. They didn't have to go national. When you go national, then you're dealing with all the other parties, the GNU and stuff like that. And you might lose because the majority are communist. So rather focus on what the area that you're governed. You're in control. You have the majority there. You can pass through these laws, and then we can tackle other things in the Western Cape. Not sure why they didn't use that approach. Maybe I should speak to the mayor or something. But maybe I can cover it in the next documentary. I don't know. But yeah, I think that would be my only criticism of the DA, along with other things, but that's not related to Stolen Ground. Yeah, so for those of you who think that I am pro DA, I will say this. I used to be. And I tried to be as balanced as possible in this documentary with everyone. I wasn't trying to favor one or the other. Like I said, I just asked questions, looking for the truth, and whatever the person told me, I would then use it or let them have their chance to talk. But I'm becoming more and more anti-government in general the older I get. So yeah, that's what I would say with that.
Well, guys, if you want more from Joe, I've put in the backer buddy, but go to also www.stolenground.co.za. It's in the description. Make sure you're subbed to Joe. We've actually kept him even longer than he promised to be, as I'm very, very happy. Subbed, says Zero Fucks. Thank you. Oh,
thank you.
Yes, I'm an interviewer now. Ooh, look at me.
Zero Fucks. Is that Vince McMahon?
Yeah, but you see, I've stopped seeing him as Vince McMahon. I see him as Zero Fucks now. So
you're fired.
Stolen Land to Emilio Boogaloo. That's the name. Yes, go and do that. Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on? Otherwise, we'll be saying goodbye. And oh geez, I could talk to you about. I wanted to get into the South African politics itself and also talk about how it relates to American politics and all of that. So we do have to chat again on your channel. My channel.
Sure.
Point is one of
definitely. I really enjoyed our conversation, so I'm happy to come back, or you can come onto my show. We'll chat. But in closing, guys, share it. Just share this documentary far and wide. Share it again on your community groups. Share it on your WhatsApp groups. Share it because people get busy, right? You might have shared it the one time, and people are like, "Oh, I'm interested," but then people get busy. So share it again. Once again, let's get this to 1 million views. I think the world needs to know about what's going on in South Africa. So once again, Kitty, thank you so much for your exposure of the documentary in its unique way, but still you spoke about it.
Yeah,
and I think
something.
that I think that means that definitely goes a long way, because there are people that watch this channel that may not watch my channel. So yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for covering it the way you did. Just again, share it, guys. Share it far and wide. And thank you all for the support. And if you want to see another one, go to the link that Kitty has mentioned, and I'll be sure to make another one. So thank you guys so much.
That's Dildo giving you a salute. Yes, these are the people that are in my chat. This is their name. These are their names, but they are great people. Okay.
Grasshopper. I know Grasshopper. Next up, Stolen Jobs.
Okay, well, there you go. Let's all be invaders for life. Yeah, okay. Well, you invade as long as everybody's invading Joe's channel, invading the video, the diagram, the documentary. This is a problem.
You really are obsessed with diagrams.
I am obsessed, but there is a diagram in the documentary. See if you can spot it. Okay. So you guys, yes, invade the like button. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for reminding me how to be a YouTuber. Okay.
and don't forget every like what was that one?
Is one land invader in behind bars. So there you go. Cheers, guys.
I'll see you next time, chat. I hope you had fun. We had a pretty great time, but now we're done. If you disagreed with me, that's okay. It's fine to be completely wrong and gay. Daisy was a menace with her tail in the frame, but she's a pretty kitty with a fluffy mane. I'm about to go and touch the sky.
much.